Emma and Sophia, a New York love story. Emma's hands trembled as she held the eviction notice, the words blurring through, her tears while the sound of her grandmother's labored breathing filled the small Brooklyn apartment they had called home for 23 years. The doctors had given them 3 months, maybe 4 if they were lucky, and now the landlord wanted them out in 30 days because the building was being converted into luxury condos. She pressed her forehead against the cold window, watching the city lights flicker in the December darkness, wondering how she would find the strength to keep fighting when everything she loved was slipping through her fingers like sand. That was the moment Sophia Martinez walked into her life. Though Emma didn't know it yet, she was still standing at that window, still drowning in despair, still believing that the universe had forgotten her completely. But fate, as it often does, was already weaving threads she couldn't see, preparing to teach her that sometimes love arrives not when life is perfect, but precisely when we need it most, in our darkest and most vulnerable moments. The next morning, Emma dragged herself to her job at the New York Public Library. Her eyes red from crying, her heart heavy with worry. She had worked there for 5 years, shelving books and helping patrons, finding solace in the quiet corners filled with stories of people who had survived worse than she was facing. But today, even the books felt like they were mocking her. All those happy endings that seemed impossible in her own life. She was mechanically scanning returned books when she heard a voice behind her, warm and gentle like honey dissolving in tea. "Excuse me. I'm looking for books about caring for elderly family members, something that might help me understand what they're going through emotionally, not just the medical stuff." Emma turned and found herself looking into the most compassionate brown eyes she had ever seen. The woman standing before her was perhaps 30, with dark wavy hair pulled back in a loose ponytail, wearing a green sweater that brought out the warmth in her skin, and carrying herself with a quiet confidence that immediately put Emma at ease despite her own turmoil. There was something about her presence that felt like a safe harbor in a storm, and Emma found herself actually wanting to help instead of just going through the motions. "I can definitely help with that," Emma said softly, leading her through the stacks. "Are you caring for someone?" "My father," Sophia replied, and Emma heard the weight in those 2 words. The exhaustion and love and fear all tangled together. "He has Alzheimer's, and some days he doesn't remember who I am, and I'm trying so hard to be strong for him, but sometimes I just—" Her voice broke, and without thinking, Emma reached out and touched her arm gently. "I understand. My grandmother has stage 4 cancer. Some days I don't know how I'm going to make it through, but somehow we do, right? Somehow we keep going." Their eyes met, and in that moment something shifted in the universe. 2 strangers, both carrying impossible burdens, both feeling utterly alone, suddenly recognized in each other a kindred spirit. They stood there in the quiet library aisle, surrounded by thousands of stories, not knowing they were about to write their own. Sophia came back the next day and the day after that. At first, they talked about books and caregiving strategies and the exhaustion that came with watching someone you love fade away. But gradually, their conversations deepened, meandering into territories of dreams and fears, and the lives they had imagined before responsibility had reshaped everything. Emma learned that Sophia had been a promising architect who had put her career on hold to care for her father, full-time after her mother passed away 2 years ago. Sophia learned that Emma had wanted to be a writer but had stayed in New York to care for her grandmother instead of accepting a graduate school offer in California. They were both women who had chosen love over ambition, sacrifice over self, and in recognizing this in each other, they began to heal something neither of them had known was broken. 3 weeks passed, and their friendship bloomed in the cold New York winter like a flower that refused to acknowledge the season. They started meeting for coffee after Emma's shifts, sitting in warm cafes while snow fell outside, sharing stories and laughter that felt like medicine for their weary souls. Sophia had a way of making Emma forget her troubles, even if just for an hour. With her terrible jokes, and her infectious laugh, and the way she looked at Emma like she was seeing something beautiful and rare. And Emma found herself coming alive again, remembering that she was more than just a caregiver, more than just someone trudging through one crisis after another. But Emma was terrified of what she was feeling. She had always known she was attracted to women, but she had never acted on it. never let herself explore that part of her identity because there was always something more urgent, demanding her attention. Her grandmother needed her, the bills needed paying, survival came first and everything else had to wait. And now here was Sophia, making her feel things she had convinced herself she didn't have time for, awakening desires and hopes she had buried deep, because they seemed impossible and dangerous and beautifully, terrifyingly real. The breakthrough came on New Year's Eve. Emma's grandmother had a particularly bad night, and Emma sat with her until dawn, holding her hand, watching her sleep fitfully, feeling the weight of impending loss crushing her chest. At 7 in the morning, exhausted and emotionally raw, she called Sophia without really thinking about it, just needing to hear a friendly voice. Sophia answered on the second ring, her voice thick with sleep, and when Emma broke down crying, unable to hold it together anymore, Sophia said 6 words that changed everything. "I'm coming over right now. Wait for me." She arrived 20 minutes later with coffee and bagels and pulled Emma into a hug that lasted so long Emma lost track of time. They sat on the couch in that tiny apartment, with its peeling wallpaper and second-hand furniture, and Sophia held her while she cried, not saying anything, just being present in a way that made Emma feel less alone than she had felt in years. When Emma finally pulled back, apologizing for falling apart, Sophia cupped her face gently and said, "Don't apologize for being human. Don't apologize for feeling things. You're one of the strongest people I've ever met, and even strong people need someone to lean on." "I don't know what I'd do without you," Emma whispered, and she meant it with every fiber of her being. "You'll never have to find out," Sophia replied. And there was something in her eyes, something that made Emma's heart race and her breath catch. The kiss happened slowly, tentatively, like the first notes of a song neither of them knew they were composing. Sophia leaned forward, giving Emma every opportunity to pull away. And when Emma didn't, when Emma actually closed the distance between them, their lips met in a kiss that felt like coming home after a lifetime of wandering. It was gentle and sweet and filled with all the unspoken emotions they had been carrying, all the loneliness and fear and hope finally finding expression. When they pulled apart, both of them were crying, but these were different tears, tears of relief and recognition and the overwhelming realization that sometimes, even in the middle of darkness, love finds a way. "I've wanted to do that for weeks," Sophia admitted, her voice shaking slightly. "But I was scared. Scared you wouldn't feel the same way. Scared of complicating your life when you already have so much to deal with. Scared of admitting to myself that I was falling in love with you." Emma's eyes widened. "You're falling in love with me?" "I'm already there," Sophia said simply. "I fell in love with your kindness, your strength, the way you care for your grandmother with such devotion, the way you light up when you talk about books, the way you see the world. I love you, Emma, I love you. And I know the timing is complicated and our lives are messy, but I can't pretend I don't feel this anymore." Emma kissed her again, harder this time, pouring into it all the things she couldn't find words for. When they broke apart, she was smiling through her tears. "I love you too. I think I've loved you since that first day in the library, and I've been terrified of it because I didn't think I had room in my life for this. But you've shown me that love doesn't take up space, it creates space. It makes everything more bearable." They spent that New Year's Day together, talking and crying and laughing and planning, figuring out how to navigate their complicated lives as a couple instead of just as friends. Sophia helped Emma search for new apartments, accompanying her to viewings and helping her fill out applications, bringing practical help alongside emotional support. Emma went with Sophia to her father's doctor appointments, sitting in waiting rooms and holding her hand through difficult conversations, offering the same steady presence Sophia had given her. Emma's grandmother noticed the change immediately. One afternoon when Sophia was visiting, the old woman smiled knowingly and said, "She makes you happy. I can see it in your eyes. Don't you dare let anything stop you from being happy, Emma. Promise me that. Promise me you'll choose love no matter what." Emma cried and promised, and her grandmother reached out a trembling hand to Sophia. "You take care of my girl. She gives so much to everyone else, make sure someone's taking care of her." "I will," Sophia promised solemnly. "I'll spend the rest of my life taking care of her if she'll let me." The next 3 months were the hardest and most beautiful of Emma's life. Her grandmother's condition deteriorated, but she faced it with Sophia by her side, sharing the burden that had once felt impossible to carry alone. Sophia was there for the middle-of-the-night hospital runs, the difficult conversations with hospice workers, the moments when Emma thought she couldn't take another step. And Emma was there for Sophia too, on the days when her father didn't recognize her, when the grief of losing him piece by piece became overwhelming, when she needed someone to remind her that she wasn't abandoning him by also living her own life. They moved in together in March, finding a small apartment in Queens that had enough space for Emma's grandmother's hospital bed and was close to the facility where Sophia's father now lived. It wasn't much, but it was theirs, filled with their combined belongings and the love they were building day by day. They created routines together, cooking meals side by side, reading to Emma's grandmother in the evenings, visiting Sophia's father on weekends, carving out moments of joy and normalcy amid the grief. Emma's grandmother passed away on a Tuesday morning in April, with Emma and Sophia both holding her hands. Her last words were, "Be happy, my darling girl. Be happy and be brave." Emma was devastated, but she wasn't alone in her grief. Sophia held her through the funeral arrangements, the memorial service, the painful process of sorting through a lifetime of belongings. She was patient with Emma's mood swings, understanding when Emma needed space and present when she needed comfort, never making her feel guilty for grieving in her own way and in her own time. If this story is touching your heart, if you believe in the power of love to heal and transform us, please take a moment to like this video and share it with someone who needs to hear this message today. Your support helps us continue sharing these stories of hope and resilience. 3 months after her grandmother's death, Emma woke up one morning and realized something had shifted inside her. The grief was still there, would always be there in some form, but it no longer consumed her entirely. She could think about her grandmother and smile at the memories. Instead of only feeling the loss, she could imagine a future that wasn't just about surviving but about actually living. And when she looked at Sophia, still sleeping beside her in the early morning light, she felt grateful beyond words for this woman who had appeared in her life, exactly when she needed her most. She woke Sophia with gentle kisses, and when those sleepy brown eyes opened, Emma said, "Let's go somewhere. Let's take a trip, just the two of us. Your father is stable, and I think we both need to remember what it feels like to just be young and in love without all the heaviness we've been carrying." They went to Cape Cod for a long weekend, renting a tiny cottage by the ocean. They walked on beaches, ate seafood, made love without the constant awareness of responsibility, waiting just outside the bedroom door. They talked about their dreams, the ones they had set aside, and the new ones they were building together. Sophia showed Emma architectural sketches she had started drawing again, small projects she was taking on, her passion reigniting. Emma shared the pages of a novel she had started writing, stories flowing out of her grief and love and growth. On their last night, sitting on the beach watching the sunset paint the sky in shades of orange and pink and purple, Sophia took Emma's hand and said, "I want to build a life with you, not just survive together but actually thrive. I want us to support each other's dreams, to make space for both caregiving and career and all the messy, beautiful parts of being human. I want to wake up next to you for the rest of my life and know that no matter what challenges come, we'll face them together." Emma turned to her, eyes shining with tears of joy. "Is this a proposal?" Sophia laughed, reaching into her pocket and pulling out a small velvet box. "It absolutely is. Emma Sullivan, will you marry me? Will you let me love you and support you and build a life with you? Will you be my partner in everything forever?" "Yes," Emma said without hesitation. "Yes, yes, 1,000 times yes." The ring was simple and perfect, and as Sophia slid it onto Emma's finger, the sun dipped below the horizon, marking the end of one day and the promise of another. They kissed as the first stars appeared, two women who had found each other in the darkness and chosen to create light together. If this story of love, resilience, and second chances moved you, please take a moment to comment below about a time when someone appeared in your life, exactly when you needed them. Your stories inspire us all. They got married 6 months later in a small ceremony in Central Park, surrounded by close friends, and with Sophia's father present in a rare moment of clarity where he recognized his daughter and blessed their union. It wasn't the wedding either of them had imagined as young girls, but it was perfect for who they had become. Two women who had learned that love isn't about perfect timing or ideal circumstances, but about showing up for each other every single day. In sickness and health, in grief and joy, in darkness and light, Emma went back to school part-time to pursue her MFA in creative writing, while Sophia slowly rebuilt her architecture practice, specializing in designing accessible spaces for elderly care facilities. They both continued caring for Sophia's father, now doing it together, sharing the responsibility and the moments of grace that still appeared, even in the progression of his disease. They created a life that honored both their obligations and their dreams, proving that it was possible to be both dutiful and fulfilled, both loving caregivers and complete individuals. Years later, when Emma published her first novel, a story about love and loss and finding hope in unexpected places, she dedicated it to two women: her grandmother, who taught her about unconditional love and sacrifice, and Sophia, who taught her that she deserved to be loved just as unconditionally. The book became a bestseller, touching hearts around the world. But its greatest success was the life it represented, a testament to the truth that even our darkest moments can lead us to our brightest futures if we're brave enough to remain open to love. Their story wasn't about dramatic rescues or fairy tale endings. It was about two ordinary women who found each other in the midst of extraordinary pain and chose, every single day, to build something beautiful together. It was about learning that we don't have to carry our burdens alone, that asking for help isn't weakness but wisdom, that love in all its forms is worth fighting for even when the world makes it difficult. It was about the quiet courage of caregivers, the resilience of the human heart, and the transformative power of being truly seen and accepted by another person. Emma and Sophia's love story reminds us all that there is no such thing as wrong timing. When it comes to real love, that our struggles can connect us rather than isolate us, and that sometimes the most profound relationships begin in the most unexpected ways. Their journey teaches us that love isn't about escaping our responsibilities or our pain, but about finding someone who will stand beside us through it all, making the burden lighter and the joy brighter simply by sharing it. In a world that often tells us we must choose between duty and desire, between caring for others and caring for ourselves, between responsibility and romance, Emma and Sophia prove that we can have both, that these things aren't opposites but complements, each making the other more meaningful and sustainable. Their story is a reminder that we all deserve love, support and happiness regardless of our circumstances, our struggles or our identities, and that when we find that love, we must be brave enough to embrace it fully, without apology or hesitation, because in the end, love is what makes all the hardship bearable, all the sacrifice meaningful, and all the pain worthwhile. Love is what transforms survival into living, existence into purpose, and two struggling individuals into an unbreakable team. And that love, in whatever form it takes, is always worth fighting for, always worth celebrating, and always worth sharing. With a world that desperately needs more examples of authentic connection and unwavering support, Emma and Sophia's New York romance teaches us that happy endings aren't about everything being perfect, but about finding the person who makes the imperfect beautiful, the difficult manageable, and the impossible just maybe within reach after all.